The vacuum cleaner. Odie, you're a genius. What am I saying?
I got a bad feeling on this one, all right? I got a bad feeling.
For some reason, there are a lot of Garfield video games. Most of them are terrible, but this one we're looking at today, simply titled Garfield for the PS2, is without a doubt the worst of them all. It is unfathomable how bad this game is, and every second I had to spend capturing footage of it for this video was agonizing. You know, Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield, has a net worth of $800 million US. My knee-jerk reaction to seeing this figure is to think, how on earth has Garfield managed to generate so much revenue? And then I realized I don't even like Garfield, but in my life, I've watched 3 Garfield movies and now played 5 Garfield video games. So I guess it adds up. Sorry, I'm procrastinating. I just really don't want to proceed, but okay, let's not delay the inevitable. This is why Garfield on the PS2 is the worst Garfield game ever made.
Proceed.
The game greets us with an eyesore. It is truly one of the most grotesque start screens in gaming history. Once we press start, somehow the already low bar of expectations gets even lower as we bear witness to the opening cutscene.
There you are. I'm very angry with you. Gee, I hate seeing John upset like that. Just kidding.
You may as well just open the game with a card saying, yeah, we couldn't be bothered, but you've already paid for the game, so bad luck, loser. The cutscene sets up the game's plot, as John complains to Garfield about how he's been misbehaving and shredded his favorite suit. He tells Garfield that if he doesn't behave, he'll be put on a diet. John leaves the house, and Odie immediately causes an absolute mess. Leading us to the gameplay, which is, we have 8.5 hours in real time to clean up the house before John gets home. I know that sounds like a joke, but I'm being serious. There's a bunch of objects scattered around the house. We have to pick them up, go to where they're supposed to be, and put them down. There's a countdown clock starting at 8.5 hours, and if it reaches 0 before you finish the game, you lose and have to start over from the beginning.
Everyone knows what fun is. Well, no.
Now, on paper, this whole premise has like a 10% chance of being a nice therapeutic experience. If every aspect of the game was perfectly crafted to relax and satisfy you, and like a 90% chance of being the most boring and uninteresting piece of garbage ever made. But somehow, it's even worse than that. Somehow, every aspect of this simple premise has been executed so poorly that it's an even bigger nightmare than you could have ever imagined. Let's start it off with how you pick things up and put them down. You do it by using this vacuum, holding one bumper to suck things up and the other bumper to spit things out. Except you can only spit things out where they're meant to go, marked by the object's ghost, which only works if you stand in such a specific way for each object that isn't made clear that it takes multiple efforts of positioning and holding down until you eventually manage to put an object back in its place. This is made so much worse by the fact that when you start the game, it just drops you in blind.
I'm blind.
There's no indication of what you're supposed to be doing, what the controls are, the rules, nothing. So as a result, during those first couple of hours, because this vacuum mechanic is so unreliable, it's impossible to tell if you're the problem or if it's the game's fault or you're just doing it wrong or if what you're even trying to do is what you're supposed to be doing. How am I supposed to comfortably piece together how the game works if half the time it doesn't f***ing work?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
This same problem applies to all of the game's traversal. It is the most imprecise, clunky, frustrating traversal, never being clear about what's a surface you're supposed to actually be climbing on, or when you're just trying to break the game to reach areas you're not supposed to yet. It's all just so rough and unclear. Combine these things and you find situations like this, where all I wanted to do was pick up this grey bucket thing. The vacuum wasn't working from the ground, but then the game wouldn't let me stay up on the ledge on the angle required to point the vacuum at it for long enough to pick it up. So as a result, I'm just sat here screaming inside, unsure if what I'm doing is the right idea for 20 whole minutes. Until finally, it just sucks into the vacuum and I've picked it up. Great.
What a sick joke!
Then we've got Odie. He is only in the game to repeatedly bump you and stop you from completing whatever boring as task you're trying to do. I truly don't understand how anyone thought this would make things more fun. Introducing a mechanic that is objectively annoying with no redeeming qualities. The only good thing is that Odie is so poorly programmed that he'll often just get stuck on some furniture running in place and you'll be able to avoid his torment for a while. By now, I'm sure you can already see any hopes of this being a remotely therapeutic, relaxing experience is out the window. But now have a listen to the game's music. It is the most repetitive, frantic, infuriating noise to listen to while trying to plow through this torturous experience. Another thing you'll hear a lot is Garfield saying this.
I wonder what goes there.
And when I say a lot,
I wonder what goes there.
I mean a lot.
I wonder what goes there. I wonder what goes there.
Shut up!
So the entire game is set in one house, which has a number of rooms, but for some reason, the developers weren't capable of making this all one seamless experience. So whenever you go through these doors, there are 20 to 30 second loading screens to get to the next room. It's a game where you pick things up and put them down in other rooms, and you couldn't even do that without having to subject me to constant loading screens? Was one aspect of this game not made to torture the player? Seriously, was any of this tested? Did anyone actually play the game, or did you just stick it in a box and send it out to stores? You know, the more I think about it, the more I am certain absolutely no testing was done, because reading other people's thoughts on this game, I discovered it is physically impossible to complete it to 100%.
What?
Listen to this. Throughout the game, you pick up these jigsaw pieces. The game says how many you've got out of 58. When you complete a section of the house, the game will spawn a bunch of these for you to pick up. Unfortunately, when you complete the last section of the house, it'll spawn the final jigsaw pieces, but then immediately play the ending cutscene, giving you no chance to collect them. It's a final you. It's like you're driving through a tunnel for hours, and then just as you see the light at the end of it, your car explodes and you're dead. The game's also littered with spelling and grammatical errors. I don't even care at this point. Broken English is fine compared to all of the other frustrations the game is packed with.
I don't even want to be around anymore.
What?
I don't want to be around anymore.
This game is an 8.5-hour chore where every mechanic is either by design or lack thereof, making it all as time-consuming and unsatisfying as possible. Garfield on the PS2 is easily the worst Garfield game of all time. One of the worst pieces of media of all time. And I can't bear to spend another second even thinking about it.
I'm done! You hear me?